November 2nd, 2014, from Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio, it was the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals won the toss and they elected to defer, and so the Jacksonville Jaguars would take over first. They would go 3 and out, and so Cincinnati got the ball, but after 4 plays, they would punt on their first possession as well. Jacksonville then got the ball back, and after 4 plays, they would punt for the second straight possession. And now Cincinnati would get the ball, and after 5 plays, they would punt. So these two teams are just trading punts back and forth for the first 4 possessions, as they each had 2 possessions each at this point in the game. So now with about 6.5 minutes left in the first quarter, Jacksonville had the ball on their own 14. And then after picking up 4 yards on first down, Denard Robinson then picked up 39 yards on a run. So that was 43 yards off of 2 plays for Denard Robinson right there. So now it was a first down on the Cincinnati 43, and then a penalty against the defense for a horse collar tackle would make it a first down on the 27. So now they would end up getting a 3-yard run by Gerhardt, and then Bortles would throw to Cecil Shorts the third, and it would end up being a 9-yard loss. So that brought up 3rd and 16 from the Cincinnati 33. Blake Bortles dropped back to pass, and he found Toby Gerhardt, who took the ball 19 yards on the reception. So now it was a first down on the 14. They lost a yard, and then they gained a yard. So now it was 3rd and 10 on the 14. And Bortles hit Hurns for a 7-yard pass, but that would be short of the first down. And with the ball on the 7-yard line of Cincinnati, Scobee would come out, and he kicked a 25-yarder, and it was now 3-0 as the Jacksonville Jaguars got on the board first in this game. So now the Bengals took over with a little less than a minute and a half left in the first quarter. They had it on their own 20. They picked up a first down, and then on first down from the 37, Pierman ran for 3 yards as the first quarter came to a close with the Bengals at their own 40-yard line. So after 1 quarter of play, it was 3-0 Jacksonville over Cincinnati. So to start things off in the second quarter, the Bengals had the ball on their own 40. It was 2nd and 7. They ended up picking up a first down with a pass to A.J. Green from Dalton, and that brought it to the 49 as they're right there at midfield. They crossed into Jacksonville territory, and then on 3rd and 8 from the Jacksonville 49, Dalton hit Pierman for a 17-yard pass. They would bring the ball to the 32. Hill then ran for 10 yards, and then Hill ran for 3 yards. So now it was 2nd and 7 in the red zone on the Jacksonville 19. Andy Dalton dropped back to pass, and he found Mohamed Sanu for a 19-yard touchdown pass as the Bengals took the lead with the score now 7-3 Cincinnati over Jacksonville. The Jaguars would then go 3 and out, and they would punt the ball back to Cincinnati. So now the Bengals had the ball with about 10 minutes left in the second quarter. They had it on their own 38. They brought it to midfield and into Jacksonville territory. Then they faced a 3rd and 9 on the Jacksonville 42. Andy Dalton drops back to pass, and he finds Sanu for a 33-yard reception that brought the ball to the 9-yard line. So it was now 1st and goal from the 9. They then fumbled the ball, but they recovered the fumble. And so now it was 2nd and goal from the 12. And then they got a touchdown pass from Dalton to A.J. Green, but it was nullified as it was offsides against the offense. So now that brought up 2nd and goal from the 17. They picked up 4 yards, but then on 3rd down they wouldn't get the first down, and so Mike Nugent would come out to kick a 31-yard field goal. It was up, it was good, and Cincinnati extended their lead to 7 points with the score now Bengals 10, Jaguars 3. So now Jacksonville would take over with about 4.5 minutes left in the first half. They had the ball on their own 20. They would end up moving backwards as they lost the yard on first down, and then an incomplete pass brought up 3rd and 11, and Blake Bortles was sacked by Dunlap for an 8-yard loss. So now they would attempt to punt, but the punt was blocked, and it was blocked out of the back of the end zone, and that made it a safety as the Bengals now put 2 more points on the board as it was now 12-3 Cincinnati over Jacksonville. And because of the safety, Jacksonville would have to do a safety punt, and now the Bengals would take over on their own 37 with about 3 minutes left in the second quarter. Wright then ran for 11 yards on an end around, so now it was a first down on the 48. And then a couple plays later, it was 3rd and 5, and Dalton would hit Burkhead for a 4-yard pass, but they were short of the first down, and they would end up punting the ball. So Jacksonville would take over with about a minute and a half left in the half. They had it on their own 6. They got out of the shadow of their end zone, and they were able to bring the ball out to their 30. They would punt the ball, and that would bring the first half to a close. So going into the locker rooms, the Bengals led the Jacksonville Jaguars with the score Cincinnati 12, Jacksonville 3. So the Bengals would end up starting things off in the third quarter. They had the ball on their own 38 after a 24-yard return by Pac-Man Jones. And so they would bring the ball up to midfield, and on 2nd and 9 from the 47 of Jacksonville, Andy Dalton dropped back to pass. He found Sanu this time for a 36-yard reception, and now it was a first down on the Jacksonville 11-yard line. And then after picking up 8 yards on first down, Dalton himself, it was a 2-yard run by Hill to pick up a first down. So that was 1st and goal on the Jacksonville 1, and Hill punched it into the end zone, and it was now 19-3, Bengals over the Jags. So now Jacksonville would take over with about 10.5 minutes left in the third, and after a 39-yard return by Todman, they had it on their own 36. Blake Bortles dropped back, and he found Cecil Shorts the third for a 20-yard reception, so that made it a first down in Cincinnati territory on their 44. Denard Robinson would end up fumbling the ball, but they ended up recovering it. But then it was ended up ruled that it was actually not a fumble. So Cincinnati had recovered, but then with the challenge, it ended up being still Jaguars ball and a 4-yard run. So now it was 2nd and 6 from the Cincinnati 40. Blake Bortles dropped back to pass, and he found Hurns for a 40-yard touchdown pass, as it was now a 9-point game with the score now 19-10, with the Bengals still in the lead over the Jaguars. So now the Bengals would get the ball back with about 9.5 minutes left in the quarter. They had the ball on their own 10. They were backed up against their end zone, but on first down, Hill ran for 11 yards to get it up to the 21. Then Dalton ended up hitting Hill on a short pass for 9 yards. And then after losing a couple, it would bring up 3rd and 3 on the 28, and Dalton ended up hitting Sanu for a 7-yard pass to get the first down. So now it was a first down on the 35, and Sanu would end up running on an end around for a 9-yard pickup. So that would bring up 2nd down on the 44, and after a 2-yard run, we'd get another 2-yard run, and so now it was 2nd and 8 on the Cincinnati 48, and Andy Dalton dropped back to pass, and he was intercepted by Martin, as Jacksonville would get the ball back now on their own 29 with about 5 minutes left in the quarter, as the third was coming close to a close. But Jacksonville now would end up punting the ball 5 plays later, as they weren't able to get much going. They did get to Cincinnati territory, but the drive stalled on the Cincinnati 43. But now the Bengals would take over with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. They had the ball on their own 11, but after 6 plays, they would end up having to punt the ball back to Jacksonville. So Jacksonville would get the ball on their own 10, and Denard Robinson ran for 2 yards and brought the third quarter to a close. So after 3, it was Cincinnati 19, Jacksonville 10. So to start things off in the fourth quarter, Jacksonville had the ball, but they would end up going 3 and out, the first play of which happened in the third quarter. The next 2 plays didn't get a first down, was 2 incomplete passes, and out came Unger to punt the ball. So now Cincinnati would take over on their own, or on Jacksonville's 23, because Pac-Man Jones returned the punt 31 yards. So then Hill ran for 5 yards on first down to make it 2nd and 5 on the Jacksonville 18. Dalton then hit A.J. Green for an 18-yard touchdown pass, as A.J. Green got in the end zone, and it was now 26-10, Bengals over the Jaguars. Jacksonville now got the ball with about 14 minutes left in this game. They had it on their own 25, and then after picking up a first down on 3rd and 5, with a pass from Bortles to Robinson. It was first down on the 35, and then Bortles hit Cecil Shorts III for a 15-yard pass to bring it out to the 50. And then after getting further into Cincinnati territory, they would end up with a first down on the Cincinnati 18. Blake Bortles dropped back to pass, and he found Allen Hurns for an 18-yard touchdown, and it was now a 10-point game with the score Cincinnati 26, Jacksonville 16. So now the Bengals would get the ball, and they had it on their own 23, and then they faced a 3rd and 8 from the 25. Andy Dalton dropped back to pass, but he was intercepted by Thomas III. And so now Jacksonville would take over on the Cincinnati 7 with about 9 minutes left in the game. Denard Robinson ran for 2 yards, and then on 2nd and goal from the 5, Denard Robinson brought it to the end zone on a 5-yard run. And so now it was a field goal game that separated these two, as it was 3 points, as the score was now Cincinnati 26, Jacksonville 23. So now the Bengals would take over on their own 40 after the Scobee kick ended up going out of bounds. And so now on first down from the 40, they handed it off to Hill, and Hill took it all the way to the house. Some amazing moves, 60-yard touchdown run, and that put the Bengals back up by 10 just when the Jacksonville Jaguars looked like they were going to come in and close this game. Cincinnati puts it back out of reach, makes it back to a 2-point game, and now Jacksonville would get the ball back with the score 33-23, trailing the Bengals. Jacksonville had the ball on their own 21. They would bring the ball to midfield. They would have a first down on the 45 when Blake Bortles hit Hurns for a 28-yard pass that brought it to the 27. Moments later, they would end up in the red zone, and even they had a 3rd and 1 on the 18. Gerhardt picked up the first down with a 4-yard run, and that set up a 1st and 10 on the Cincinnati 14 as Jacksonville was poised to score and bring this back to a 1-score game. Blake Bortles shot back to pass, and he was intercepted by Ilka. So now the Bengals took over with 4 minutes left in this game. They had the ball on their own 10-yard line as they forced the turnover in the red zone. And they would end up with an 11-yard run on first down by Hill, as Hill just kept pounding the ball and throughout this drive until they ended up punting the ball when they stalled on the 35, as penalties brought them back a little. They would punt it to Jacksonville. Jacksonville wouldn't really get anything going, and on the final play, Blake Bortles was sacked by Hunt, and this game came to a close with the final score Cincinnati 33, Jacksonville 23. And with the victory, the Bengals are now 5-2-1 on the season as they remain undefeated at home, and Jacksonville is 1-8 with the loss as they have yet to win on the road this season. And in this game, Andy Dalton was 19 for 31 with 233 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He also ran for 11 yards off of 2 carries. Blake Bortles was 22 for 33 with 247 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Denard Robinson had 94 yards off of 17 carries. For the Bengals, Jeremy Hill, he was the leading rusher in this game. He had 154 rushing yards off of 24 carries and 2 touchdowns. The leading receiver in this game was Allen Hurns. He had 112 yards off of 7 receptions, 2 of which were touchdowns. Mohamed Sanu had 95 yards off of 4 receptions and 1 touchdown. A.J. Green had 44 yards off of 3 receptions and a touchdown as well. And on defense, the leading tackler in this game was Cyprin, as Jonathan Cyprin had 9 tackles. He is a tackling machine. He's always getting the tackles every game. The Bengals and Jaguars both had 2 sacks each, as Hunt had a sack and Dunlap had a sack for the Bengals. And for Jacksonville, Marks had a sack, and Smith and Davis each had half sacks. And the Jacksonville Jaguars actually had 2 interceptions. Thomas and Martin each had interceptions. And the Bengals had 1 interception. That was Iloka. So the final score, Cincinnati 33, Jacksonville 23.